Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. So, I came up with this idea talking about the cosmetics, both soldier skins, weapon skins, and just talking about the cosmetic features in Battlefield 5. I know that cosmetics have been quite a touchy issue for a lot of people, just essentially because the actual game state is in a fairly poor condition, and yet they continue to release cosmetic material that costs real world money. And they said that, well, basically this video is going to be, simply put, my cosmetic loadouts, my weapon loadouts, just what I go to the battlefield with. And I wanted to start off this video by saying that I enjoy the game. Do I have problems with it? Yeah. Do I still play it? Yes. This is only because I have several friends that play this game, and this is really the only online game I actually play still. So, in that sense, I justify being able to buy these cosmetic items that I have. So, with me being the cosmetic queen that I can be, I have a fair collection of different cosmetic outfits, but these are the ones here that I thought were, in my opinion, the most appealing. So, let's start off with my German squad here. Starting off with my German assault character, I went with, I think his name, yes, Harold. He kind of looks like a kid, in my opinion, and that kind of raises the appeal to them. I feel like a lot of people don't actually realize that you can change your characters like this, but it's just something that I just like all my characters to be different, so it adds just a little bit more to it. Um, so for the actual skin loadout that I have for him, you notice that he's mostly blue. Well, this is because the Germans during the Second World War had a division of infantry for the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, and that's what my German assault player is. He's decked out with the napalm. This is just a normal Stahlhelm, just the one that everybody gets to start off with, but I figured since I have it, it's basically the exact same thing, just with stuff decorated on it. Just, I think it looks better than just a plain old helmet. The Canned Fury torso is probably the best one to create a Luftwaffe outfit, just because it has that dark blue coloring to it, and it also has several different pouches and small cosmetic items like the shovel on the back, and just different straps, a dagger, ammo pouches, to just kind of make it look like a more seasoned soldier. While with the leggings, I went with the Jackal leggings, mostly just because the leggings that actually go with a Luftwaffe outfit, the Aviator, just none of the colors really mesh well. I mean, I guess you could go with the white ones, but or the basic gray ones, but they just seem kind of off-putting for me. It's like, you have this dark jacket, but then you have like really bright pants. So I just went with the Jackals pants and boots, just because it matches it somewhat. I feel like not a lot of people are gonna notice it all that much. Also, before I get too far into this, a lot of these cosmetic loadouts I got from the subreddit r/Battlefield Cosmetics. They try to strive and make Battlefield as aesthetically accurate as possible. Now, this being the game that it is, there are some parts of it that do take more to the tactical style, which I feel like a lot more people actually go for. But with what I have in the game, I try to make my soldiers look historically accurate as possible. Alright, so that is my assault character for the Germans. Next, I go off to my German medic, who is Helmet. I basically made him look like some kind of tank commander of some kind. If any of you have played the Last Tiger uh, war story in the single player, I kind of made it look like him. I got the Noblesse Oblige, if I could pronounce that right. Uh, Again, just because it has the, the jacket really just does it for me. By the way, I think what it says on the holster here, it just says Todd, which I think is just German for death, or just something like that. Like it's kind of silly, especially if you are German playing this game. It's just a holster that says death. But went with the Canis Horibus, a Horribilis cap there, just trying to get as close to a tank commander style look as possible. And then the Noblesse Disease pants and jacket. I mainly got it for the pants and jacket because the face mask that it comes with it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, technically, this is historically accurate, but for the wrong war. This is a World War I face mask. In fact, this was a very rare face mask for World War I. It was only implemented, I think, in maybe only even the triple digits, like less than 200 of these were actually sent out or something like that, which, talking about the scale of the First World War, was actually pretty small. Went with the red face paint there just because I had it, and I thought it brought out the red on the cap a lot more, which made it look better in my opinion. Also, I don't know, maybe it's blood splatter from, exiting a tank or something like that. And later on in the video, I'll explain the weapon choices that I have for everything. So, going on to my German support. This is probably my favorite loadout of the bunch, just simply because it is as historically accurate as I can make it, and it also still looks pretty badass by still using all of the epic headwear. The Divining Rod and the Demolisher sets put together make a pretty darn historically accurate. Just mind the non-German grenades on the side there. I don't know did British use pineapple grenades as well? I'm pretty sure they did. But I don't know, maybe he just captured them. Explosives are explosives. But the Divining Rod headgear, you have the wrap, the goggles, and the cap. With the Demolisher torso, you've got the ammo pouches, the gas mask on the side, and not actually wearing it. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. I'm sure a lot of people have, going on the comments on different subreddits, that DICE seems to have a gas mask fetish. Now, some people think they're really cool looking, some people think they're really annoying. I'm indifferent so long as they kind of fit with the theme of the loadout they're trying to go with, but not every set needs a gas mask. So you can have one on it like this, where it's just, as part of the outfit, but not necessarily on the face as well. Obviously the Stahlhelm behind there, and just to top it all off, being a support player with a belt of ammo on there, even though he's holding an FG-42, but I'll get to my weapons here in a second when I explain the loadouts for them. And then my German Scout. There we go, that looks better. I just like the P08 carbine and smaller maps, and I was just playing on the new Merida map recently, so P08 carbine, if you're a Scout player, is probably the best weapon for Merida. So, going to my Gunther. Gunther seems to be like the most common soldier to be put for really either team, because he's on both teams. It's just on the British side, he's named something else. Yes, I was irresponsible with my money, and I bought that $30 pack that came with 2 epic skins. It came with the Stormwolf skins for the Germans, and then the like the War Eagle skin or something like that for the Americans, which aren't in the game yet, but for some reason they're putting American cosmetics into the British, which is going to be a rant of mine here later on in the video. But we got the the brush-filled Stahlhelm on there, And I personally feel like they should add more cosmetics like this to the game. There was a lot of, I guess you could say, just improvised camouflage during the Second World War. Obviously, ghillie suits as well. So if we could get something like that into the game, I think it would be pretty cool. I also think it would justify the lack of visibility on some of these soldiers. I'm sure we've all been killed more than once by somebody that was just in a spot that we had just checked 3 seconds ago and was just like, wait, he wasn't there. There was nobody there. But no, they just blend in really well. So, came with the Stormwolf Zettelbon, I think this is called, where it's like a almost like a poncho looking thing. But and again, there's the gas mask and the grenade pouches on there. I I'm indifferent to them. I think they're kind of cool, but at the same time, it's just kind of like asking myself like, why are they there? Obviously, his gear on the back there, and holster for might be a PO8, might be a P38. Definitely, it's a German holster though. And then the Kraken leg set, because the Stormwolf leg sets don't really match it in terms of camouflage wise. Thankfully, though, due to the Tides of War unlocks, we got the Kraken set, which is kind of like the free budgeted versions of the Stormwolf skin. So you can actually make a if you really do like this skin, but you don't want to pay the money to get it, that's a very reasonable choice. The Kraken set is actually pretty darn close to that. In fact, I'll just show it off here for a second. Kraken, so it's going to be... See, so as you can see, it actually still has a fair amount of camouflage to it, especially on a map like... Oh, God, was it? Twisted Steel, which actually ends up working out a lot in your favor. You'd be surprised how often you can actually hide yourself fairly well with a skin like this. So that's my German scout. Now before I head over to my British scout, or not my British scout, my British squad loadout, I kind of wanted to point out something. You notice that I don't have any of the German elites. I don't have the I guess you could say the one that I guess is most historically accurate out of the three, but that's not saying much. Ernst, the thing that bothers me about Ernst is, let me go to the thing here so you can actually see him a little bit better here. Where is he at? Right here. Is there's just a few things about him that just really kind of bother me. First off, he has a Mauser Schnellführer, or some like a C96 Mauser holster, and we don't have the Mauser in the game. I know it's scheduled to be put in the game as a pistol carbine, but come on, let's just... There's already a lack of sidearms in the game. Just let us have this one. Also, the fact that he has a small belt of shotgun shells, like, strapped to his shin on his right leg, with a 1911 of all sidearms. It's like you've got two sidearms. One of them, I mean, I can maybe understand if it was like captured and was like a war trophy for him, but it just sort of ruins it for me. And his best squad animation, it's very cringy, I guess is the best thing I can say, because it lends to that like tactical, just like, you know, because I guess he's portrayed to be a scout in his character intro, I guess you could say, just because he picks up the K98 Mauser. We'll actually watch that here in a second, so we can kind of see what sort of character he is. But I just like I think it's really cool and whatnot. Like he's meant to be some sort of, you know, cool-headed, just, you know, strategic guy, but you know, see, he picks up the 1911 there. It's just like, okay, so all of his weapons were just sitting there during this attack, and he didn't pick up any of them until just now. And instead of instead of staying in a strategic elevated position, he jumps out to the library floor. Obviously, that's the map devastation, the B flag on Conquest. But I don't know. I'm just nitpicking and making content. So I guess this is something that if I were to pick up a German elite, it would be him, just because the other two are absolutely ridiculous. His special assignment allows you to get a K98 bayonet, which is pretty cool. You know, it's a pretty cool looking knife, and yeah, it's like historically accurate. A German sniper using a K98 bayonet as a melee weapon. So that's Ernst. Now we talk to the. Now we go on to the Phantom of the Opera with Wilhelm, or Wilhelm. Sorry, but okay. So let's talk about the first thing that really pops out is the prosthetic face mask that he has. Now, if you knew anything about Germany during the Second World War, they went for pretty much trying to breed the absolute perfect soldier. Blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, just tall, you know, handsome looking. No. Why would you pick a guy with. There must be something different about him that, I don't know, just somebody was like, yeah, he, you know, is perfect for the German military, even though he looks like that's exactly what he's called, is Phantom of the Opera. Everybody just calls him it. Also, his best squad animation is kind of meh. It's like, ooh, alright, I'm just gonna fix my gloves. But at least it's not the whole, like, appealing to the tactical COD player, I guess, or shh, I'm a German sniper. I'm the best there ever is. His special assignment gets you a pretty nice looking dagger. I will admit it actually does look nice. I'm not too picky over the melee weapons in this game, just simply because they're hardly ever used anyway, and they're weapons. I can't say no to new weapons, although I personally feel like melee weapons should not be a part of the unlockable Tides of War, but rather in the progression that during the 40 levels of just normally playing in the game during the Tides of War event. I think it's like up to level 40 or something like that. Just simply because there's no custom melee animations, there's no custom animations to deploying these melee weapons. They're just reskins of the basic melee weapons. Like the German naval dagger and the K98 are all just simple reskins of the basic knife. So, am I happy they're in the game? Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like they should just be regular unlocks from just playing the game, not something you have to dedicate a week to playing. So, going through Wilhelm's little intro here. Wow, that's first. I've never had to see it live. So, definitely Phantom of the Opera style music. Germans, or not Germans, British having a case of Stormtrooper aim right now. I'm gonna run, just run towards him. Yep, that's a great idea. Just run right to him. The gun, did you run out of ammo with your Bren gun already and then switch to your sidearm and then die? Also, you had ran out of ammo in your 1911. That was like 5 seconds. Did you just shoot everything off? Missed? It was, ugh. And like I said, just nitpicking. You know, nobody waited to open fire on the German commander or whatever until he was able to blow off dynamite. And another case of cool guys not looking at explosions. Yeah, pretty this is a hard pass for me. Then we go on to fucking Chernobyl over here.
Feind neutralisiert.
Okay, so I will admit she looks amazing. Like, she looks pretty darn awesome. And when we get to her intro here, it is rather intimidating, but at the same time, this is taking tactical way over the top. This is taking it to a whole new level of just, let's just slap everything we can on a character to make her look as badass as physically possible. Of course, for the first German female elite, they have to make her look completely ridiculous. Her best squad animation is also fairly cringy. Just the quick little, like, turn around and rubbing the hands together, you know. Okay, we get it. You're German. You're evil. Like, you don't have to... So, her pickaxe is probably the most dull of the melee weapons that the new elites get, just simply because this is the exact same pickaxe that's in the game with a ribbon on it. They don't even try to hide it. The pickaxe that you normally unlock in the game by just playing the game is the exact same as this one. With all the other melee weapons, they at least look different. They might have the same model and the same animations as their base melee weapons, but this one is just a direct copy of it with a ribbon strapped to it. Going on to her intro, which is the best thing about her, but I'm still not buying her. Of course, miss every single shot. How did the door close that quickly after he had fallen through it? Get a close-up of her Chernobyl-style gas mask. I don't know necessarily what parts about her are historically accurate, but I'm assuming not much. Alright, so no footsteps hearing, I guess. I guess this guy's just a complete idiot. You have a gun. She's walking at you with a pickaxe, and you have a gun. You are a soldier. You have been trained to deal with situations like this. Just shoot her. I don't care how intimidating she looks. You have to realize that she looks ridiculous, and it's your job to put her in the dirt, which I personally feel like is going to happen with her. Every time I kill somebody running this elite skin, I just think in the back of my mind of just how angry this person is, because I feel like somebody who's very angry is the kind of people that buy this skin. So, those are the German elites. Going back to the company here, we're going to go through the loadouts, actually, for my German assault, my German medic, my German support, my German scout, my German squad. Having dyslexia sucks, and you say words you don't mean to say. So, starting off, I actually use the different specializations or combat roles that are used in the game here. Granted, there's only 2 per class, but I still try to use them to their best effects. I use light infantry on more close quarters maps, maps that necessarily aren't going to have that many vehicles. So, higher rate of fire fully automatic weapons, more higher rate of fire semi-automatic weapons. The weapons themselves, I try to use the best abilities for close quarter combat, and so on and so forth. Obviously, with the light infantry, you get the more ammo, and you regain health faster, which I feel like is better for a close quarters style of soldier. So for the light infantry role, the semi-automatic weapon I choose is going to be the Moss 44. Now, why did I pick the Moss 44 and not something like the Gewehr 43? Well, in my opinion, the Moss 44 is better for close quarters just simply because it has a higher fighter rate and it has that hip fire capability. The Gewehr 43, I know it's the exact same perks as it, but I just feel like it's better just for close quarters, just because that 360 round rate of fire is just simply better for a close quarters weapon that can still go out to longer ranges if need be. But here's the thing, if I'm trying to be as historically accurate as possible, why am I picking a French prototype weapon? Mainly just for the sake of balance between my German squad and my British squad. I actually try to balance them out fairly easily, or fairly equivalent, I guess you could say, just with what the weapons I have. I'm also one of the kind of people that tries to use each weapon as much as possible. I usually just try to balance it out as best I can. So when I get to my British layouts and loadouts, I think I can explain it a little bit more, but the MOS 44 for me just fits better for the Germans, because the British, for close quarters semi-automatic rifle, I use the Turner SMLE. Sometimes for the Germans, I'll throw in the Gewehr 1.5 if it's a more close quarters map, but I still want to use a semi-automatic weapon. This is the weapon I will more than likely pull to. Obviously, for if I want to use a fully automatic weapon for my light infantry, I'm going to use the Sturmgewehr 1.5 with the custom stock option, just so you can have full movement speed while you're aiming down the sights. And then going over to the vehicle buster, this is the one I use for obviously larger maps. That's why I use the Gewehr 43, is because it's a 3-shot kill at any range, and it has a decent enough rate of fire as is, so I feel like it's not necessarily that bad in close quarters, especially since I have the hip fire spec for this as well. Mainly just so I could use the detachable magazines, because I absolutely hate stripper clips. Stripper clips have gotten me killed more often while reloading than any other thing while I wasn't shooting, if that made any sense. Kind of jumping back here to light infantry, just the standard P38 pistol for both of the both the light infantry and the vehicle buster. Club, just because my assault for the other team, the British, uses the lever pipe, which was just a reskin of the club. You'll probably figure out who my British soldier here is when I get to that video. Standard grenade, just because I feel like for light infantry in close quarters, you're going to enjoy that explosion a lot more. The Piot, just because it's better for infantry uses. Like I said, I'm using my... In terms of my cosmetics, I use it for historically accurate purposes, but in terms of my actual like gun loadout, I use it for balance. So both my British and my German soldiers will use the Piot as their light infantry assault class. And then I just go with dynamite, just because I feel like it's just a universal tool. You could throw it over walls to kill people from behind. Also, the rare times you actually do encounter vehicles on, say, maps like Devastation or Rotterdam, you're not stuck with a frag grenade rifle trying to kill a tank, which, in my opinion, is the worst thing that an assault player could do. Also, I try not to use the frag grenade rifle just because, one, it got nerfed, and I just don't feel like it's worth the slot anymore, and getting killed by this is probably one of the most infuriating things to have happen, so I try not to use it just simply out of principle. I mean, it is just a noob tube. And I don't use the AT mines just simply because I feel like they're too visible for even vehicles to see them, so they'll just stop and shoot them out with their machine guns. Also, they're just too unreliable in my opinion. I feel like the blast radius of them is actually quite small because you'll have one explode next to a tank and only deal like 15 damage. So I just prefer to take my tanks head on, and I feel like even with the light infantry that's not specialized for vehicles, the Piat and the Dynamite are good enough to get me there. While as for the vehicle buster, P38 pistol and the club there, uh, obviously I'm going to use the anti-tank grenade. Just another piece of equipment that deploys fairly quickly. Your soldier throws it fairly quickly to just smack into the side of a tank. The reason why I go with the Panzerfaust just simply because on these larger ranged maps like Panzerstorm, Hamada, and other maps that have heavy vehicle spawns, you're not necessarily going to be within range of Piat shots every single time, and the Panzerfaust having a more flat trajectory is just easier to aim. Yeah, you have to deal with the longer reload, but you could duck into cover and reload while the tank is getting shot at, more than likely from multiple different people, just because you want to make sure you're not just the only thing the tank is trying to focus on, especially when you're trying to kill it. And then again, Dynamite again, just because it's a universal gadget. I feel like it's, out of the three that they have, I feel like it's just the best all-arounder. So in terms of weapons, I use the Gewehr 43 for longer range, and then if I ever do feel like for example, if I'm stuck up on a control point for a long time, I will switch to the Sturmgewehr 44, just simply because it's okay at longer ranges. It's alright tap firing, but it's the close range option for a class that's built for longer range combat. So heading over to my medic here, starting off with the field medic perk. This is what I use for more open maps. The healing trait is kind of meh, but I do like the swift effort trait, being able to run to fallen teammates, especially out in the open. On larger maps, you have to use all cover as effectively as possible, and being able to dart faster from one side of a choke point to another to revive a fallen teammate, I feel like is just better. The combat medic I use in more close range situations because the melee distance is increased, so the few times I do need to pull out a melee weapon to finish the job on somebody or just sneaking up on people, it's just better overall in close quarters. And the emergency retreat, again, better in close quarters. You can run back behind cover at lower health than you would normally with the field medic. So field medic, longer range engagements, and combat medic for shorter range engagements on maps. So going to the weapons, I actually like using the M28 Tromboncino for longer range engagements. I feel like this is probably one of the higher skill weapons to use for the medic class, just simply because it one-shots headshots. I think out to 50 meters it was. Also, on maps that have a lot more vehicle spawns, you can actually help your assault and support players by trying to take out tanks by shooting at tracks, shooting at the engine, shooting at the turret with those little grenades that this thing shoots. So you might not get that many actual vehicle kills with it, but you're helping them out, and any chunk of damage you can do to a vehicle that's destroying your team while your assaults and your supports are trying to take them out, it's just that much little more help that you can pitch in. So for longer range engagements, I like to use the Tromboncino. My fallback option for a longer range weapon for the Germans is going to be the MP34, just simply because it's probably one of the most accurate SMGs in the game. You could tap fire it at longer ranges to actually deal some decent damage, but also it having a fully automatic rate of fire, it's not too bad in close quarters either. It's it's just a SMG that could reach out further than most other SMGs in the game, so I feel like it's pretty good at medium to, not long range, but I guess you could say more uncomfortable ranges for an SMG. I would rather have this than, say, a Thompson or a Suomi. And like I said, I'll just mix and mash it up, just whichever gun I feel like using. But the Tromboncino and the MP34 are my go-tos in terms of a longer ranged style medic. And then for a combat medic, closer range, I like to use the ZK383 for the custom stock and the lightened stock, just to be able to move around while still aiming down the sights and at full movement speed. I was using the light bolt for a while, but I just felt like a lot more shots were missing. Also, I didn't get the custom stock option, which actually enabled the accuracy while moving. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage just because I have that slower rate of fire, but being able to dart in and out of cover while still aiming down the sights and firing is where it makes up for it. Also, with the larger magazine in close quarters, it just means that you have to reload that much less. And if I'm really, really close quarters, I'll break out the MP40. I've taken the MP40 to be a full close quarters weapon. I've got the quick reload, enhanced grips, and the polished action, along with the custom stock, just in case if I am using aim down the sights. But this is my hipfire weapon of choice. I was using the MP28 for a while, but I just found that weapon to be very inconsistent. It was just really hard to figure out what specializations I wanted for it. It seems like it wants to do well with the 50-round magazine and the hip fire, but then you just get into those situations to where there's an enemy just far enough out of range to where hip fire isn't necessarily working, so you aim down the sights and it's just good luck trying to kill somebody. So I just went with the MP40 because it does have a slower rate of fire and, in my opinion, better hip fire characteristics than the MP28. Also, with the larger magazine, I know it's only 2 rounds, but we've all had moments to where one shot left in the magazine has killed someone. So MP40 for full hip fire for my German medic. Sidearm, I just use the P38 Red Devil just because there's no real options for sidearms. We only get so many, and you know, I wanted the same consistency as the P38, but I have the skin for it, so whatever. Melee weapon, I use a hatchet just because it's one of the larger melee weapons, so it's a 2-hit kill, and medics being up close and personal, you want to be able to dispatch people as quickly as possible, so even if you shoot at them first, I think these do like 55 damage a hit at any side you're dealing with them. So yeah, they do have that slower swing speed, but being able to just kill somebody in 1 or 2 hits is probably the best option, especially if you want to get in and out as quickly as possible. Same for the field medic in terms of sidearms and melee weapon. Standard grenade, just because, like I said, I feel like it's a consistent grenade. It's also, I feel like it's the most effective for a longer range specialized class, just simply because the grenade bounces a little bit and it could actually go a little bit further than, say, the smoke grenade or the incendiary. Just the standard bandages, just because I move around a lot as a medic and I can't necessarily rely on my teammates to stand in the range of a medical crate. Also, I don't like my teammates being able to heal themselves off of... Not my teammates, sorry. My opponents to be able to heal off of my own gadgets. So just normal bandages to just throw out. They have a pretty long range of where you can throw them, and there's no timer on really how many you could throw at a time. So just spam that button as fast as possible. Just keep throwing them. I use the smoke grenade rifle on both of the field medic and combat medic class roles, just because it's very versatile with how far you can send smoke out. You could pop it down right in front of you to make instant cover. You could shoot it at tanks to blind their vision. You could shoot it at buildings to block windows. You're getting shot at by a sniper, just shoot a smoke grenade at them and close the distance so they are blinded and not seeing your movement. It creates cover for fallen teammates to where you can run and go pick them up. It's just a versatile gadget, in my opinion, more effective than just an AP mine. And the same goes for the combat role for the bandages and the smoke grenade rifle. The only reason why I use the incendiary grenade is because it's a near instantaneous explosion. It cuts off choke points. It cuts off hallways. It's good if somebody is around a corner and you need to be able to deal damage on them without actually exposing yourself. It's just, in my opinion, a better close quarters grenade for a medic rather than just a frag grenade, which could be thrown at longer distances. The incendiary grenade is, in my opinion, better for close quarters combat. Then moving on to my support character, I use mainly for long range engagements the actual machine gunner perk there. I usually use the Lewis gun just because I am really not a huge fan of the bipod mechanics that the MG42 would use. Now, I use the MG42 just simply because it's the best German machine gun, in my opinion, in terms of actual bipoded weapons. You know, you can't go wrong with the MG42. It's, like I said, it's the best German machine gun. I was using the S2-200 for a while, but that 30-round magazine got me killed more often than I can say. Also, with the MG42, you need to have as high of a fire rate as possible in order to defend yourself at close quarters. But for just general purpose, long range, actual machine gun perk usages, I just use the Lewis gun just because you receive that less suppression, and it has a big enough magazine to where you can actually use the focus fire trait and actually expose people by spotting them. For, I guess you could say, close quarters options for the machine gun, I usually don't use this, but I can switch it up to where it has the 97-round magazine, and I feel like that's better for close quarters, just so you can use the swings and swivels and be able to move a little bit faster in close quarter. But generally speaking, if I get on a more close quarters map with my support character, I'll use the FG42 or the M30 drilling. Those are my two options for close quarters engagements. P08 pistol, just to change it up a little bit so it's not just another P38. I will explain here in a little bit why I just don't use the revolver for like every class. Shovel, just because, I don't know, I want to hit people with a shovel. Also for the British, I use the just the pickaxe. Where's the pickaxe at? Yeah, just the pickaxe, so it has the same damage values as it, so it's just, I just want to smack somebody with a shovel, alright? So, that's actually wrong. For the machine gunner, oh, that was right. Because I use the machine gunner at longer ranged engagements, just because I feel like you get better usage out of the bullet storm and the focus fire traits. This is also my anti-vehicle scout. So using the sticky grenade against vehicles, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's something that you can use that's actually fairly decent. Ammo crate, because pouches don't reload the gadgets. They don't reload gadgets. Ammo crates, as a support, are so much better. So just if you're rocking support, use the crate because it reloads your pistol grenade, which is what I use for both the engineer and the machine gun class. Just like I said, the AT mine is just too inconsistent in my opinion, and the AP mine is useless. So, grenade pistol, you can use it against vehicles, you can use it against fortifications. You can kind of use it against players as well, but mainly it's a tool to use to clear a path for taking down fortifications and for taking down vehicles. So heading on over to the engineer class, this is going to be my more close quarters, just because I feel like on close quarters maps the building of fortifications is, I guess you could say, to be perfectly honest, it's not the machine gunner, so it's just better in close quarters in my opinion than the machine gunner, just because in close quarters you don't really get to use the bullet storm trait or the focused fire trait as much as you could. So just, I don't know, just get rid of them, I guess. I don't really have a great explanation for why I just don't go machine gunner with the full on every single loadout, but it's just for me. I mean, you can actually pretty much get away with just using the machine gunner perk. Like I said, for close quarters support, I mainly just use the FG42, just because it does have the enhanced grip, so it's actually not too bad in hip fire, and the light in stock, just so you can aim down sights and move 100%, just so you have that little bit of faster movement rate. Also, 670 rounds per minute in close quarters combat is nothing to laugh at. While also using the drilling if I really want to pull out a shotgun, just because it's the drilling. Like, it's the pinnacle German shotgun. I'm not going to use any other shotguns for the Germans than just the drilling. It's good at long range with the single shot bullet that it fires, and then it's a double barrel shotgun up close, so it might not be the best weapon in the world, but it's certainly fun to use. Same sidearm, same melee weapon. The only change up I have for close quarters is the impact grenade. Now, why I don't use the incendiary grenade like the medic class is just because I want to change things up a little bit. You know, just an impact grenade can soften up opponents. You know, it's just if they run into a doorway, you can just throw it behind them after shooting at them. It's just a quick deploying explosive grenade, and it changes things up a little bit than just using the incendiary grenade again. Same thing, ammo crates, because you want to resupply your pistol grenades while also resupplying your assault players with Panzerfausts and Piats, your medics with smoke grenades, your scouts with flares. Just the ammo crate is so much better. If you're a support player, run the ammo crate. There's no question about it. Then moving over to my scout, finally, we start off with the Pathfinder. Pathfinder is for more aggressive playstyle, just simply because the whole like spawning on friendly spawn beacons that are not your own. Just place one outside of a spawn point and, you know, use spotting flares to really just kind of get closer to objectives and being an actual effective player in your team, rather than just sitting 12 miles away from an objective and sitting on a ridge line on aerodrome, popping shots at people and missing completely and just giving away your position, so Panzer IV can just headshot you with a 75mm shell from across the map. I usually bounce between a few different weapons, mainly just calling for what I feel like. Usually, if it's like a really close quarters map, like Merida or Devastation, I'll go for the P08 carbine, just because it's a pistol carbine. You know, it's fast rate of fire, low damage. I have it spec'd out with the hip fire, so it's even better in close range. And also, it was buffed recently. It has less recoil and higher muzzle velocity, so it's actually pretty easy to kill people with this now. If I want to use a hard-hitting rifle at close range, I'll usually just use the Model 8. Just because I reserved the RSC for the Allied faction, so it's just like, alright, well, I'll just use the Model 8 for this one. Also, I feel like it's a weapon nobody ever uses, and it's sometimes fun to just use things that no one else uses. You know, you can kind of call it for yourself. But the one I'll use the most if I'm not using the P08 carbine is obviously going to be the Celb Slaughter. The Celb Slaughter was like my favorite weapon for Medic in Battlefield 1, and it basically just does everything that I wanted it to do in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. It's a two-shot kill at any range. It's got a fairly decent enough rate of fire, and frankly, it's a badass weapon, and I absolutely love it. Also, the ZH-29 is just for the British, so I'll just use a self-slaughter for the Germans. For actual sniping, bolt-action rifles, sniping, with the sniper combat roll, or class roll, or whatever you want to call it. The eagle-eyed trait, when you spot enemies when you hit them, and the expert marksman trait when you're holding your breath. I usually am just going to stick to the Gewehr. Why? It's the Gewehr. It has a quick reload. It's got a faster rate of fire than the other German options like the Kar 98. I just would rather use this in close quarters. Also, it's nostalgic. It reminds me of Battlefield 1. This was one of my favorite ones there. In that game, at least. In terms of customizations for it, specializations. Quick aim, swings and swivels, just better for close quarters. Machined bolt, higher rate of fire, and bayonet charge, because it is so satisfying to kill somebody with one of those. In a first-person shooter, you're running and stabbing somebody with a large stick. In terms of gadgets and whatnot, for the Pathfinder and the Sniper, really nothing changes other than just the throwing knife for the Pathfinder, just because it's really satisfying to use. I don't understand why it's doing the grenade, but basically it's a quick, quiet option to kill somebody at relatively close quarters. Also, it's just really fun to use, and it changes it up rather than just using another frag grenade, which I use for the Sniper class at longer ranges, just because I really don't care. I just use it for the Pathfinder because I generally am more close quarters with it. For both the Pathfinder and the Sniper, I will use the flare gun over the spotting scope, just because I feel like the spotting scope, it might be better for longer ranges, and you could potentially spot more, but it's just so... The flare gun is just such a good tool, being able to just spot people without even having to look at them. And yeah, you can have enemies that are actually smart enough to shoot down enemy flares and everything, but I just feel like it's just great utility, along with the spawn beacon, just because the AP mine and the sniper decoy are pretty terrible. So it's just the best of a bad bunch, just being able to basically just pick your spawn point. Can't complain too much about that. So, that is my German squad here. I'm gonna do vehicles here real quick. Mainly the ones I use are going to be the Panzer IV. I'll usually bounce between more, I guess you could say, anti-vehicle loadout, or if I am in a more, I don't know, like I guess you could say like a close quarters map there where there isn't that many vehicles, just to change it up by just going with the Zimmerit, the flare launcher, the turret rotation, and the S-mines, just because the 75mm that the Panzer IV gets has the same explosive radius as the Tiger 1, and the Panzer IV is faster, and more maneuverable than a Tiger, so I don't understand why you would use a Tiger at closer range. So this is definitely the sniping tank. This can be more of the anti-infantry tank. And why I don't use the Panzer 38T is just simply because it's not great. uh, Mainly, I just use this just if I am feeling up for it. That's all it really is. But mainly, I just use the Panzer IV just because I like the ability to go kind of, okay, well, there's a lot of infantry on this map. Let's just go anti-infantry, or if I'm like on Panzerstorm or Armada, I can be like, okay, well, let's go full protection and anti-tank, where we have the smoke launchers, the track skirts, the Pack 40 gun, and the AP rounds for the Panzer IV. And don't fly it, don't fly it. This is the only thing I fly. It's kind of funny just because it's the only thing I really actually fly for the Germans or bombers. That's all I really care for. And I just go the full bomber route. Can't really say anything wrong with that. Although I do like the machine gun upgrade. I'm glad that's there because I feel like I'm more reliable being my own gunner and just jumping in the back seat rather than someone else I know. Or someone else I don't know. I don't mind if I have a friend in the backseat. It's when a random person just hops into your plane and has no idea what they're doing, and they're just shooting at everything, and next thing you know, you got killed. So that's the only plane I fly. So really for tanks, for me, it's just the Panzer IV, and for planes, it's just the Ju-88A. So anyway, guys, that was my German loadout there, and both cosmetically and actual guns and whatnot. So hope you guys have a great day, and I will be releasing the British version soon. Bye-bye.